Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And streaming on YouTube.
Hello and welcome into another edition of the Morning Sports Desk. I'm CJ Baumgartner. No Corey Tackman today, but it still is powered by the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade regardless. And by the way, since we're talking about the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena, do you know that they have like the country's best chicken? I know they got a lot of places they got to compete with, but it's true. And by the way, they have a deal, $22 for chicken and mashed potatoes. It is so good. Their mashed potatoes and gravy combined with the chicken, $22 for an 8-piece chicken and mashed potatoes. All you got to do is just order it. Do it in the store. You can do it online. You can do it on the Pizza Ranch app. It is also convenient. Or if you say, you know what, I want to eat as much chicken as I can physically handle and then some, that's what the buffet is for, going inside to the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Not only do you get the chicken and the mashed potatoes and the pizza and the salad bar and the goodness gracious, everything else that goes along with it, but you also get to play at the FunZone Arcade where you can have fun with your kids and just overall have a great time, or you can try and play to try and get the tickets and cash them in for great prizes. You can win PlayStations, coolers, you can win autographed mystery jerseys, like we gave away a signed Wade Boggs jersey on here. That was pretty darn cool. A lot of fun stuff you can do and have a good time and get your belly full of great food. The Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Go check them out, will ya? All right. Now as we move on here on a solo episode of the Morning Sports Desk powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade, we're talking a little high school playoffs. And yeah, get your Jim Mora bit in here. Playoffs. Playoffs. You can talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Yeah, we're talking about playoffs because we are in the full swing now. Softball playoffs have been going on. A little bit of baseball playoffs have started already, but for the most part, like the full day of opening round playoff baseball is here. Let's kind of recap things in Section 8 AA softball. So as we take a look here, pulling the bracket up on the Minnesota State High School League website, and we can just kind of see what's going on here in the bracket. So Roseau and East Grand Forks are going to play in the 8AA semifinal game in Thief River Falls at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Winner goes to the championship game that'll be played on Thursday, or they would dip down into the elimination bracket where Dilworth, Glendon, Felton, and Wadena Deer Creek are playing early afternoon, 2 o'clock. And then also at 2 o'clock, Monaga and Holly. Both of those games taking place in Monaga. The winner of those two games will play each other. The losers obviously are eliminated, but then they go on to play each other. And then if they get past the two games today, then they would play either East Grand Forks or Roseau in that elimination bracket game on Thursday. So that's where things are looking like in Section 8 AA softball. Checking Section 6 AA softball brackets. St. Cloud Cathedral is taking on Kimball Area at Rivers Edge Park, Miller Builders Field. And that, by the way, game is going on at 5 o'clock tonight. Over in the elimination bracket, Holdingford and Pierce are playing each other today at Rivers Edge Park on Trot Field. That is, again, between Pierce and Holdingford. The winner of that game is going to play the loser of St. Cloud Cathedral and Kimball Area, and then the section championship game will take place on Thursday. Moving into Section 6A. Softball. And this is where we got coverage on the Superstation K106 105.9 FM, streaming online at WadenaRadio.com, the Superstation K106 mobile app. New York Mills, Clinton-Graceville-Beardsley, 4:15 pregame, 4:30 first pitch from Browerville High School between the Eagles and the Wolverines. Winner goes on to the section championship game on Thursday. The loser will dip into the elimination bracket, but they won't play until Thursday, because if you go into the elimination bracket, West Central Area and Swanville are playing at 2:30 in Browerville. Wheaton, Herman, Norcross, and Browerville are also playing at 2:30. So those two games take place. The winner of those two games plays each other, and then the winner of that will play the loser of New York Mills and Clinton-Graceville-Beardsley. Man, it just makes it so much more easier on your favorite team if they win, right? Otherwise, there's a lot of moving and finagling and obviously jockeying for a position here. Looking in Section 5A softball, Black Duck and Hill City Northland are playing at noon today in Walker in the semifinal game for 5A. And then Mille Lacs and Pine River Bacchus are playing at 2 o'clock in Walker. And the winner of that game is obviously going to play the loser of Black Duck and Hill City Northland for a chance to get to the section championship game through the elimination bracket. So again, a lot of softball information for you. All you need to know is we're going to have coverage of New York Mills and Clinton-Graceville-Beardsley this afternoon, 4:15 pregame, 4:30 first pitch in Browerville. Looking at this game as we try and get you ready here in the in section softball play on the morning sports desk. It's going to be a good one between these two schools. And for New York Mills, they got victories over Parker's Prairie and Browerville Eagle Valley in the tournament to be able to get this far. And those both happened on Friday afternoon. And really, in those two games, they were pretty evenly matched with Parker's Prairie, with Browerville Eagle Valley. I don't think one team had a super big talent disparity over the other. I think what New York Mills did, and not that Browerville Eagle Valley and Parker's Prairie didn't do this, but New York Mills was just able to capitalize on doing the little things and being able to kind of in the aggregate build up these wins and get insurance runs when they mattered. And it mattered in both games for New York Mills to get insurance runs in the sixth inning and give them just kind of margin for error, because when they got into that final inning of each game, they needed them. So for New York Mills, they were just able to do the little things correctly, have good defense. Hitters came up in timely spots. And Browerville Eagle Valley and Parker's Prairie were right there. New York Mills just played a little cleaner. They played a little tighter. They advanced on bases when they needed to, were aggressive when they needed to, and overall just really good for them. And that's why they've put themselves in the section semifinals against Clinton-Graceville-Beardsley. So looking at New York Mills overall on the season, the Eagles are 16-7 on the campaign, 6-1 in Section 6A, 10-4 in the Park Region Conference, where they finished third, and they were 5-3 on the road, 2-2 in neutral site games, 9-2 on their home field at Lund Park. Looking in their playoff run, they had victories over Long Prairie Gray Eagle 13-0, 4-3 victory over Parker's Prairie, 2-1 victory over Browerville Eagle Valley. The one loss in the section for New York Mills, well, that came way early in the season against Parker's Prairie in a 9-5 loss, so they already avenged that. Looking at for New York Mills, their opponent in Clinton-Graceville-Beardsley, they're also feeling pretty good. They're 21-0, 13-0 in the section, 10-0 in the conference, 7-0 on the road, 5-0 in neutral site games, 9-0 on their home field for Clinton-Graceville-Beardsley Wolverines. They have a QRF, by the way, of 98.5. New York Mills has a QRF of 79.5. Looking at this game and how they got here, Hancock had an 11-1 victory. They had an 11-1 victory over Hancock, I should say, in 5 innings, and then a 4-2 win over West Central Area on Friday as well to get them to the spot. They had a first-round bye that helped them out as well. So overall for New York Mills, they're going to need to do those little things right, make a couple plays, and see where things lie against a very good Clinton-Graceville-Beardsley team that is undefeated. Some wins over the year, a 2-1 dub over Breckenridge. That was very impressive. A 6-2 victory over Osseo in Becker. Wow. A 13-6 victory in Becker against a 3A school. And then a 3-0 victory against Providence Academy, a 2A schools. They've had victories over 2A schools, 3A schools, and even 4A schools this season. So it's been pretty impressive for them this season. So we'll see what happens here in Browerville. 4:15 pregame, 4:30 first pitch for New York Mills softball in that one. Why don't we take a look at our section baseball coverage? First, starting off at 8AA, here's what's happening in games that we really are kind of caring about. Otter Tail Central's the 3 seed, taking on the 6 seeded Barnesville Trojans. 5 o'clock is when that game will be played in either Henning or Battle Lake. Not quite sure on where that game specifically will take place, but OTC will be the home team on the scoreboard. Dilworth Glendon Felton, the 2 seed, hosting the 7 seed Pelican Rapids as well. And Holly hosting Monaga in a 4-5 matchup, 5 o'clock first pitch there as well. Dipping into the always competitive 6AA for baseball. St. Cloud Cathedral hosting Osakis. Holding Ford hosting Kimball area. By the way, St. Cloud Cathedral, the 1, Osakis, the 16. Holding Ford, the 4, Kimball area, the 14. Albany holding the 5, holding Eden Valley Watkins, the number 12 seed. All these have 5 o'clock first pitches, by the way. Royalton, the 2 seed, hosting 15-seeded Sauk Center. Staples-Motley, the 7 seed, hosting Melrose Area. We got coverage of that one on 98.5 FM and AM1430 KNSP, The Fan. Zeke's going to be on the call for Staples-Motley and Melrose at Jerry Riewer Field this afternoon. 3-seeded Piers hosting the 14-seeded Pillager Huskies. 7 o'clock first pitch at Helly Field tonight. Wadena Deer Creek, the 6 seed, hosting the 11 seed Annandale. That'll be a 7 o'clock first pitch at Elmer Becker Field in Deer Creek under the lights. So that'll be pretty darn cool. And by the way, Wadena Deer Creek wins. They'll play tomorrow at Joe Faber Field. Same thing for Staples-Motley. Looking, by the way, at that matchup between Staples-Motley and Melrose Area, this should be a good one. Staples-Motley has rattled off a bunch of wins at the end of the season to be able to get themselves not only feeling like they're playing their best baseball, but also to get to be able to host a home playoff game. Wasn't always looking like that at the beginning, but we're able to get that home playoff game to start the postseason as they host Melrose Area. And again, the Staples-Motley Cardinals, they are 4-1 in Section 6AA, 13-6 overall on the season, and they're able to rattle off, again, a bunch of wins to end the year. As I'm doing my counting in my head here, they have a 10-game winning streak. Their last loss was a 7-6 L to Wadena Deer Creek, and that was way back on April 25th. They have not lost in the month of May, and they're going to put that on the line here against Melrose this afternoon on KNSP, The Fan. Getting to know a little bit about the Melrose Area Dutchmen. They're 10-7 on the campaign, 3-3 in Section 6AA, 9-4 in the West Central Conference, 6-4 on the road, 4-3 at home. Although Melrose, they've been feeling it. They've won 4 in a row going into these matchups, getting doubleheader sweeps over West Central Area and Benson on the road, and only lost 3-1 to St. Cloud Cathedral, who is, by all accounts, the favorites coming into the playoffs in Section 6AA. So there you go. There's how you know a little bit. Staples-Motley, again, by the way, their first year in the Heart of Lakes, they finished 8-5 for baseball, 6-5 on the road, 7-1 at Jerry Riewer Field, 4-1 in the section here. And their one home loss came, if you look in the season, trying to find it on the schedule here, was to Dilworth Glendon Felton, who is a pretty high seed in that Section 8AA baseball tournament as well. Should be a fun one there in Section 6AA. Looking now, as we kind of dive things over into the section, I'll make sure I got it pulled up on my screen here. The Section 6A baseball tournament also begins today. Number 1 seed Parker's Prairie hosting 8th seeded Rothsay, 5 o'clock first pitch in Parker's this afternoon. 4 seeded Breckenridge hosting the 5 seeded Browerville Eagle Valley Tigers. 2 seeded Long Prairie Gray Eagle Thunder hosting 7 seeded Hillcrest Lutheran Academy. 3 seeded Brandon Evansville hosting 6 seeded Ashby. 3 seeded Border West taking on 6 seed Hancock. Number 2 seed Belgrade Bruton El Rosa hosting 7 seed West Central Area. Number 4 Benson hosting number 5 Ortonville. And number 1 seed on this side of the bracket, Upsala Swanville area, they get a first round bye. That's how things look in Section 6A. Looking in Section 5A, they've already had some baseball happen. So let's see what's happening now in the second round. As we go to the east side, Bertha Hewitt Verndale is the 3 seed hosting the 2 seeded Mille Lacs Raiders. That will be in Isle this afternoon, 5 o'clock first pitch. Sabika hosting Nevis, 5 o'clock first pitch in the 2-3 matchup on the west side. New York Mills hosting Frazee in the 1-5 matchup as well. 5 o'clock first pitch between the Eagles and the Hornets this afternoon. So there's a look at your baseball coverage, also what games were going on our broadcast schedule today as we kind of take care of all that. But again, on the morning sports desk, we also need to talk a little state sports. So again, you can find the full broadcast schedule online, WadenaRadio.com, Superstation K106 mobile app, or by following Sports Cow on Facebook for more information on where we're going and all things related to this playoff season. Okay, all right, here we go. Let's talk a little bit about the Minnesota Timberwolves because they won big on Saturday. Huge, biggest playoff victory ever in terms of score. And then they followed it up with a fun game that they just happened to lose. 128-126. You could pick a bunch of different areas why the Timberwolves didn't win. You could pick officiating. You could pick free throw line. You could pick rebounding. You could pick turnovers. And between letting this game sit now for the last 12 hours, reffing is annoying, but they could have overcame that. That's not to say that I don't think it's a non-issue, but I'm just saying, like, there's other things that they have more control over that they could have done a better job at. And, you know, you could look at a lot of stuff in this game. I think really what the Minnesota Timberwolves lost to the Thunder in Game 4 comes down to, they turned the ball over too much and they didn't rebound well. Now, you can look at the final stats, and the Timberwolves out-rebounded the Thunder, actually. But it wasn't by much, and this Timberwolves team should dominate the boards between Gobert and Randall and Reed and some of these other things. I know they have Hartenstein. I know they have Chet. I know there's some good rebounders on there. The Timberwolves needed to dominate the rebounding game, and they also, by the way, lost the turnover game big time. And I know some people can say, well, when you look at points off of turnovers, the Timberwolves actually had more than Oklahoma City. Yeah, but that's not the point. Not every possession. I mean, it's just possessions that just because the Thunder didn't get direct points off of that turnover doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't benefit. So this is the thing for the Timberwolves. They needed to not turn the ball over. That's been the thing all series. The Thunder are great, whether it is for fouling, whether it's just playing straight up. It doesn't matter. They needed to find a way for the Timberwolves to not turn the ball over as much as they did, and it just was bad again and again. And there's a few different things you could pick at in this game. Was Anthony Edwards bad? No, I don't think he was bad. I think people overrate or underrate or whatever. They will make a big deal out of his point totals. But when you look at his point totals, it's fine because his assists were up. He was facilitating. The ball was getting moved around, and everybody was scoring. You had big games out of Naw. You had big games out of Dante DiVincenzo and Terrence Shannon Jr. You had effort from everywhere else. It wasn't scoring that was the issue. Ant didn't need to just volume shoot and get 30 points and be like, well, he did all he could do. That's not how it works. He was making the right reads a lot of times. The problem was with Ant in this game will come down to turnovers, shot selection, and because he called a couple heat checks on himself that were not warranted late in the game that didn't help. And overall, I think you look at the way he rebounded. There were just too many times where him and Randall were just standing there and not trying to be in an active rebounding position. How many times you'd see the ball go up and you look and there'd be 4 Timberwolves back? And I know every rebound is different. It's not all the same. So I'm not trying to say everything was all the same or they were being lazy or they didn't want it enough. That's not what I'm saying. They just didn't execute. And they didn't do a good job on rebounding. And if they want any hope of coming back in the series, and it's still a series, it's 3-1, not done yet. Wolves in 7 till it ain't. But they're going to have to win 3 in a row against the Thunder. And the Thunder haven't lost 3 in a row in a very long time. That's going to be the hard part. But it's still on the table. But you wasted great games out of Dante and Naw, guys who have been lacking all postseason. And they came through for you in that game, and you didn't help them out with your star players. That's a lot of people are going to say Finch didn't play well, the coach well in this game, blah, 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 blah. Most times, things come down to players executing. And that one was definitely a players executing kind of game. But I don't know, man. They got to win. They have to win. It was a frustrating game. It was a fun game. It was frustrating because as much as we want to complain about the refs, and there's warrant to complain about them, the Timberwolves had every opportunity to win that game, and they didn't. And it was their fault they lost. I don't know what else to say. I wish I could blame it on reffing. I wish I could blame it on some external force. The reason is that they lost that game is they didn't rebound well, and they turned the ball over a lot. That's why. All right, it's going to do it for me. It's the Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. I'm CJ Baumgartner. See you later.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.